The phone case was warm in my palm, like it had soaked up the tension from my grip. I was still holding it, knuckles white, even as her voice floated in from the kitchen, cheerful, casual, like nothing had happened. I watched the screen dim to black, the last of the messages burned into my mind. My name hadn't come up once. We'd been dating just over a year. Her name's Natalie, sharp laugh, soft hands, that kind of girl who walks into a room and makes you believe in music again. I was the steady type. Quiet, tech support for a university by day, guitarist in a garage band that never left the garage by night. Not exactly someone who sets off fireworks when he walks into a bar. But she saw me, or I thought she did. The trouble started small, doesn't it always? It was a Thursday night. We'd ordered Thai, left half of it uneaten on the coffee table. She was scrolling through TikToks on mute while I was going over the course registration site for the university's spring rollout. Just a normal night. And then she laughed sharp and fast, and her thumb hesitated over something on her screen. "You okay?" I asked, not even looking up yet. "Yeah," she said too quickly, "just one of those stupid trends." She put her phone face down on the couch and reached for her drink. That was the first time I felt it, that static in the air when someone lies right next to you. I didn't go through her phone, I want to make that clear. I wasn't snooping, I wasn't digging, I wasn't the jealous type. She was the one who always said honesty was her love language, but then came the second time. We were at a friend's birthday dinner, one of those long, loud tables where everyone passes drinks and laughs a little too hard. Her phone buzzed next to her cocktail, lighting up briefly. She didn't check it, didn't even glance, just turned it over with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Everything okay?" I asked during a lull. "Totally," she said too brightly, "just an old coworker being annoying." I let it go, of course I did. But that night when she left to grab something from her place and didn't return for over 2 hours, my stomach started doing this slow, sinking thing. She said she'd lost track of time, that her neighbor was locked out and she had to help, that her phone had died. 3 things that could all be true. But weren't. It wasn't until the 4th time, because it always takes me that long to trust my gut, that I said something, and even then I wasn't accusing her. I was gentle, careful, soft, because I didn't want to seem like the paranoid boyfriend. We were walking back from the grocery store, bags in hand, leaves crunching underfoot. "I feel like you've been a little distant lately," I said. "Everything good?" She stopped walking, just enough to make the plastic bag handles stretch in my fingers. "Distant?" she echoed. "You mean like not all over you 24/7? Her tone wasn't angry, but it had this edge to it, like a blade hidden in sugar. "No, I just meant. I think you're overreacting," she said, starting to walk again. "Maybe you need to chill a little, not everything's a conspiracy." That word, overreacting. Like I was making up ghosts because I couldn't handle silence. 2 days later, her ex messaged me. His name was Lucas. I'd never met him, just knew him from half-whispered stories she told early in our relationship. He was controlling, she'd said. Insecure, he used to check my location all the time. That sort of thing. So when I saw his name in my inbox, I almost didn't open it, almost deleted it on principle. But curiosity, it's louder than pride. The message said, "Hey man, I know this is out of the blue, and I wouldn't reach out if I didn't think you deserved to know. I'm not trying to start anything, but she's been texting me again. You should probably see for yourself." Attached were screenshots. The first one was from 3 weeks ago. "Natalie, I had a dream about you last night. Isn't that weird, lol." Lucas, "What kind of dream?" Natalie, "The kind I probably shouldn't tell my boyfriend about." The second one had my stomach tightening. Lucas, "You still think about us?" Natalie, "Sometimes, especially when he's busy or Ike, boring. You always knew how to make me feel wanted." I stopped scrolling. The screen went blurry for a second, and it wasn't the screen's fault. I didn't confront her right away. I did what any reasonable guy might do. I doubted myself. Maybe there was context. Maybe she was just flirting harmlessly. Maybe I was overreacting. I messaged Lucas back. "Thanks, can I ask, has anything else happened?" His reply came fast. "Not physically, but emotionally. Yeah, she told me you were clingy, that you don't give her space. She said she misses when things were fun and uncomplicated. I told her to cut it out, that she can't have both." She didn't like that. I stayed quiet for 2 more days. I don't know why. Maybe I was waiting for her to bring it up. Maybe I wanted her to give me one honest thing without needing to be caught. But nothing came. So I brought it up on a rainy Sunday. We were sitting on the couch, a movie was playing, but neither of us was watching. My heart was pounding like I'd swallowed a metronome. I got a message from Lucas, I said. She didn't flinch, didn't blink. Oh, she said. Said you were texting him. A pause. Then a small shrug. So, I talked to people, we were friends once. My jaw clenched. You said he was controlling. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Maybe I overreacted. The irony nearly choked me. I showed her the screenshots. Her face changed. Not guilty, not ashamed. Just annoyed. You went through my messages. I didn't, I said calmly. He sent them to me, said I deserved to know. Silence. Then he's just trying to screw with us. Is it true? She rolled her eyes. God, you're being so dramatic. You said I was boring. I didn't mean it like that. My hands were shaking. You called me clingy. Maybe I wouldn't if you stopped acting like this. That's when something inside me tilted. The foundation cracked. I stood up and picked up my keys. Where are you going? She asked, standing now too. Out, I said, to think. Wow, real mature. I didn't answer, just walked into the rain. I ended up in my car, parked near the pier, watched the storm roll in over the water, let the cold air soak through the window as I stared at nothing. The worst part wasn't the cheating. It wasn't even the flirting. It was the fact that when she got caught, she didn't even try to make it right. No apology, no regret, just deflection, dismissal. I wasn't overreacting. I was waking up. The umbrella in my backseat was still broken from the last time she borrowed it. Bent ribs, half-snapped spine, fabric folded like a mouth that couldn't quite close. I stared at it through the rearview mirror for a long time. It looked like a truth that had been stretched too many times, still pretending to function, still pretending it wasn't wrecked. I didn't go home that night. I texted my buddy Owen, told him I needed to crash on his couch. Didn't explain why, just asked if he had room. He replied fast, always, got beer too. The drive over was quiet, not just outside in me. No rage, no yelling, just that sinking numbness like you've stepped off a curb you thought was solid. When I got to Owen's place, he opened the door in gym shorts and a hoodie, hair wet, TV glowing in the background. Man, he said, you look like someone unplugged you. I didn't say anything, just walked in, kicked off my shoes, and sat down on the edge of his worn-out sectional. His dog, a nervous greyhound named Tiptoe, pressed her nose to my knee. You all right? He asked after a beat. I shook my head, I don't know. We cracked open a couple of cans, the TV played something dumb and loud. Eventually I told him, not everything, just enough. She was texting her ex, I said, for weeks, maybe longer, called me boring, clingy. Owen's face darkened. She say anything when you confronted her? She told me I was overreacting. He let out a breath, dude. That was all he said, but the way he said it, it said plenty. I stayed there for 3 nights. On the second night, Natalie sent a message. I can't believe you just left. Are you really going to let Lucas get between us? No, I'm sorry, no ownership. Just accusation. I didn't reply. A few hours later, another one came through. I was just venting, you know how sometimes you say stuff you do mean. Still no apology. Then, are you ghosting me now? Is that what we're doing? Wow. Real mature, Mark. That one stuck because mature had always been our inside joke. She used to say it when I'd triple-check the stove or organize the fridge alphabetically. Now it was a weapon. On day 4, she showed up at my job. I was coming back from lunch, sandwich in one hand, phone in the other, when I saw her sitting on the bench outside campus IT, arms folded, eyes locked on the door. My heart did a little stutter step. I kept walking. She stood when she saw me. Can we talk? She asked. I glanced around. A couple of students were watching. I nodded toward the side courtyard. We sat on opposite ends of a concrete planter. I rested my sandwich on my lap, suddenly not hungry. I didn't mean for it to get like this, she said, voice softer now. I was just frustrated. You've been distant lately too. That part made me blink. I've been distant. She nodded. You're always working. You never initiate anymore. I didn't feel seen. I tried not to laugh. I really did. Nat, I said, you texted your ex-boyfriend that you missed how fun and wanted he made you feel while I was reorganizing our budget to take us to Asheville for your birthday. Her eyes filled with tears, whether they were real or not I couldn't tell, and that's what broke me. I used to know. That night I finally replied to Lucas. Thanks for telling me you didn't have to. He sent back. Wish someone had done it for me, good luck man. That was it. Two men years apart connected by the same fracture. Natalie messaged me again the next morning. I'm sorry I shouldn't have said those things. Can we please talk face to face? I miss you. 3 words that used to unlock me, now they just sat there hollow. I went back to our apartment that night. She was sitting on the couch, knees tucked to her chest, wrapped in the old green blanket we bought together at that flea market in Raleigh. The one she swore was ugly chic and I said looked like a turtle's bathrobe. She stood when I came in. I know I messed up, she said, but I need you to believe that I didn't cheat, not physically. That's a low bar, I said. Silence. I miss us, she tried. I nodded slowly, so do I. And then I walked to the bedroom and started packing a duffel. Her voice cracked behind me, you're leaving. I didn't answer. Because yeah. I was. The next few days were strange, like walking through fog. I moved into Owen's spare room, started eating cereal again for dinner, stopped checking my phone after 9 p.m. Natalie kept texting, some were angry, some were pleading. A few were random photos, places we went, things we did, trying to remind me of the good. But good memories don't erase bad patterns. And now I had proof those patterns weren't in my head. 1 week later, she sent the last message I'd get from her for a while. I hope you're happy you threw away something real because you couldn't handle one mistake. That's on you. That line. That's on you. It bounced around in my skull like a pinball for days. Until I ran into someone who had something else to say about it. I was picking up coffee on a random Tuesday, long line, short patience, and then I heard someone say my name. Mark. I turned. It was Kayla, Natalie's old roommate, the one she barely spoke to anymore, said she changed after moving in with her boyfriend. I'd always liked Kayla, she was direct. She took one look at my face and said, you heard, huh? I raised an eyebrow, heard what? She hesitated. Then, you know she was still seeing Luca's last winter, right? Like seeing. My mouth went dry. No, I said, I didn't know that. Kayla winced, crap, sorry, I thought. She trailed off. I didn't press. I didn't need to. Because suddenly, everything made sense. There was a time early on when I thought Natalie was it for me. I'd already picked out the type of ring I wanted to give her. Oval diamond, yellow gold, not flashy but timeless. I never told anyone that, not even Owen. Now I'm glad I didn't. After Kayla dropped that bomb in the coffee shop, she looked like she wished she could scoop the words back into her mouth. She blinked fast, holding her iced chai like it was suddenly too cold. Forget I said anything, she murmured. It's not my place. But the damage was done. I walked out without saying goodbye. My coffee sat untouched in the passenger seat for hours. That night I sat in Owen's kitchen, staring at the microwave clock, 8:57. I thought about texting Natalie, I didn't. Instead I messaged Lucas again. Be straight with me, was there something going on between you two last winter? This time he took a little longer to reply. When he did, the message read. Yes. She said you guys were on a break. I didn't know that wasn't true until after. I backed off the minute I realized, I swear. I believed him. Not because he was perfect, but because he had no reason to lie anymore. That night I went digging, not through her stuff. Those days were done. I dug through my own memory, dates, moments, all the nights she said she was staying at her sister's or working late while I was cooking dinner or folding her laundry. I remembered one night in particular, December 19th. She came home late, her cheeks red from the cold, hair messy, said her friend had a breakup and needed to talk. I'd made her soup. She barely touched it. Now I knew why. The next day I blocked her number. It wasn't revenge. It was triage. For a while everything was quiet. I kept my head down at work, kept my weekends full, went to the gym again, picked up guitar lessons for middle schoolers on Saturdays. Owen didn't ask questions, just kept the beer stocked and the thermostat set to bro acceptable. But something in me had shifted. Not broken. Rewired. One afternoon, I ran into Kayla again, this time at a bookstore downtown. She looked surprised to see me, but smiled anyway. "I didn't think I'd see you around," she said. "You look better." I shrugged, learning how to be single again. She hesitated, then said, "I wanted to tell you back then about what happened, but she was convincing." I finished. Kayla laughed, but not kindly. That's one word for it. We ended up grabbing coffee at the cafe next door. This time I drank it. She filled in a few blanks I hadn't asked for. Natalie had reconnected with Lucas around Thanksgiving, told Kayla it was harmless, that she just wanted closure. But closure apparently came with sleepovers and deleted texts. "She said you were too nice," Kayla said, stirring her cup, "that you didn't challenge her." I stared at the foam in mine. "Funny, she said he was controlling." Kayla's look said it all. "People tell the story that makes them look best," she said. That line stuck with me. Over the next few weeks, I started writing things down, not for Reddit, not for revenge, just to get it out of my head. I wrote about the first time we met, our trip to Asheville, the fight over the scratched frying pan, the first time she used the word overreacting. It helped. Not a lot, but enough. Then came the email. 2 months after I'd last heard from her, Natalie found another way back in. Subject: please read. Body: I know you don't owe me anything, and you probably won't believe me, but I've been in therapy. I've been trying to understand why I sabotage good things, why I hurt people who care about me. You didn't deserve what I did. I know I made you feel like you were crazy. I gaslit you. I flirted with Lucas because it made me feel powerful. That's the truth. Not pretty, but it's real. I'm not asking to get back together. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I read it twice, then closed the tab. Didn't reply. Because here's the thing no one tells you. Sometimes closure doesn't come in words. It comes in silence. In choosing not to chase anymore. Still, a part of me kept checking. My Spotify shared with tab. Her Instagram stories. Her Venmo history. Yes, I know I stopped. Old habits die loud. A few weeks later, I got a text from an unknown number. It just said, "You were right." I didn't respond. Didn't need to. It was 2:36 a.m. on a Sunday when I woke up from a dream I couldn't remember. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of Owen's fish tank filter across the hall. I stared at the ceiling and realized without panic or sorrow that I hadn't thought about Natalie all day, not once, and somehow that felt heavier than any of the pain she'd left behind. Grief doesn't always look like sobbing or punching walls. Sometimes it's just silence where a text used to buzz. Or a full day when no one says your name the way she used to. Or going to bed with both socks still on because no one's there to pull one off while laughing. That's the part people don't prepare you for. The boring, empty stretches where you slowly stop needing the person who didn't need you back. 3 months had passed since I walked out of our apartment. Natalie's name hadn't come up at work. No mutual friends had tried to play peacekeeper. Kayla texted once to ask if I wanted to grab a drink, but I turned it down. Not because of anything she did, just I wasn't ready to associate anyone with that version of me. The version that begged for less hurt and got more silence instead. Around that time, Owen got a new roommate. His cousin Jeremy moved in after a bad breakup, and I took it as my cue to find a place of my own. It wasn't awkward. Owen and I were still tight, but I didn't want to be a permanent couch ornament. I found a studio across town. Small, overpriced, slightly drafty, but it was mine. On move-in day, as I unpacked my boxes, I found the little wooden fox figurine Natalie had once gifted me. "Because you're quiet, clever, and low maintenance," she'd said. It used to sit on my nightstand. Now I just stared at it like it was a dead battery. I almost tossed it. But instead, I walked it out to the alley behind the building, set it on the dumpster, and walked away. No theatrics, no fire, just release. Therapy came next. Not hers, mine. I'd been holding off because I didn't want to seem like I was broken. But what I learned is that therapy isn't for broken people. It's for repairing things before the cracks become canyons. My therapist's name was Armin, mid-50s, kind eyes, salt and pepper beard that made him look like the therapist character in every indie film ever. We talked about control, boundaries, why I default to believing it's me when things go wrong. Did you ever doubt your instincts before her? He asked. I had to think about it. No, I said. Then why did you start? Because she said I was overreacting. Armin just nodded. Sometimes that's all a good therapist has to do. That session helped me unlock something. Not just about Natalie, but about me. See, I didn't fall apart because she cheated. I fell apart because I believed I deserved it. Because when she said I was too much or not enough, I didn't argue. I internalized it. One Saturday, months later, I ran into Natalie's sister at the farmer's market. Rachel. She was always cool, funnier than Natalie, if I'm being honest. She waved at me from the stall with the fancy sourdough. Didn't expect to see you out here, she said. Last I heard, you were living in a cave. I smiled, upgraded to a shoebox with windows. She glanced around like she was making sure we were alone, then leaned in. She misses you, you know. I raised an eyebrow. She tell you that? Rachel shook her head. She doesn't have to. She walks around with a ghost-shaped hole next to her, and she's meaner now, like she knows she broke something she can't buy back. I didn't say anything. Rachel handed me a loaf of rosemary sourdough on the house. You were the best thing that happened to her, she said. Then she turned and left. I didn't cry. Didn't spiral. I went home, made toast, and ate it while reading a dumb science fiction novel about time loops. Healing doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it's toast and cheap paperback stories. By spring, I had a rhythm again. Work, gym, guitar lessons. Occasionally, I'd go out with friends or see a movie alone just because I could. And then one day, out of nowhere, Lucas called me. Not texted, called. I stared at his name for a long time before answering. Hey, I said. Hey, he echoed, sorry for the call, I just figured it was easier to explain this way. I stood up from my desk, walked into the hallway. What's going on? She's messaging me again, he said, says she wants to clear the air, says she wants to apologize for the way she used both of us. I felt my chest tighten. I thought you blocked her, I said. I did, but she used a different number. Silence stretched between us. I'm not replying, he added quickly. Just figured you should know. I nodded even though he couldn't see it. Thanks, I said, for telling me. Yeah, look, I know I was part of the problem. I wish I'd known the full story back then. So do I. Lucas exhaled, anyway, take care, man. You too. And that was that. It didn't haunt me. Didn't shake me. If anything, it confirmed that I'd finally stepped out of the loop. The pattern that kept her circling back, flirting with chaos, blaming others when things burned. This time I didn't have to douse the flames. I just walked away from the match. A few weeks later, I matched with someone on a dating app. Her name was Erin, graphic designer, loved old bookstores and terrible reality TV. Our first date was coffee, no pressure, no expectations. We laughed about how awkward dating apps are. I didn't mention Natalie. Didn't mention Lucas. Just asked Erin what her favorite childhood snack was. Gushers, she said like it was a sacred word. She asked what mine was. Peanut butter on crackers, I said, but only if my mom made them. Her ratio was unmatched. Erin grinned, sounds like she was elite. She was, I said, still is. That was it. Just two people. Starting without ghosts. I was refolding the sleeves of a hoodie at a thrift shop when I caught the scent of her perfume, Natalie's. Warm, citrusy, that specific brand she used to call mature but mysterious. For a second my hands paused on the fabric, not in fear, not in grief, just memory. Then I folded the hoodie again and kept moving. It had been nearly 8 months since everything cracked open. 8 months since I read those screenshots, since the word overreacting became a gaslight I'd never ignore again, since I walked out of an apartment I thought would be our first home. 8 months. And I could finally say it. I was okay. Erin and I had gone on 5 dates by then. Nothing intense, nothing fast, just steady conversations, no landmines, no games. She was the kind of person who asked, "Are you okay with that?" every time we made plans, not because she was walking on eggshells, but because she genuinely cared about how I felt. One night, as we were leaving a trivia bar, she said something that stopped me cold. "You know what I like about you, Mark? You listen, but you also look at people when they talk like you're trying to really see them." I didn't say anything right away. Because once upon a time, I thought I was being seen by someone who was just measuring me up to a ghost. Now someone was telling me it mattered. I didn't tell Erin everything about Natalie. Not yet. She knew there had been hurt, that my last relationship ended with some drama, as I vaguely put it. But I wasn't ready to give my past that much screen time anymore. Not because it still hurt, but because it no longer owned the narrative. That changed one night in early summer. We were sitting on my tiny balcony, sharing cheap wine and hummus that had definitely expired a few days earlier. Erin asked gently, "Do you think people can change after they hurt someone?" It wasn't random. I could tell it was her way of opening the door. And maybe it was time I walked through it. So I told her the story. Not all the gritty details, not the screenshots or Lucas or the phrases that still stung. Just the truth. That I was made to feel like I was the one being too much for asking for respect. That someone I loved kept one foot in the past and both hands on the escape hatch. That I stayed longer than I should have because I thought love meant tolerance. Erin listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't try to fix it. When I was done, she asked one thing. "What would you say to him, the version of you who first saw that message?" I didn't even have to think. I'd say, "You're not crazy and you're not asking for too much, you're just asking the wrong person." That was the last time I needed to talk about Natalie. Not because it hurt less, but because I finally knew what it meant to outgrow someone without needing to shame them. A few weeks later, I got a package in the mail. No return label. Inside was a small envelope, and inside that the fox figurine. I hadn't told anyone I left it on that dumpster. There was a note. "You probably don't want this back, but I couldn't throw it away either. I'm sorry for everything, truly, I hope you're well. N." I held the figurine for a minute, then walked it out to the neighborhood donation bin. Because some things don't need to be kept or destroyed. They just need to be released. One afternoon, I passed by our old apartment building. It looked smaller now, like it had been scaled down after I left. I stood on the sidewalk for a second, half waiting for some pang of regret. But none came. Just a quiet kind of thankfulness. Not for the pain, but for the clarity it brought. I used to think I was overreacting. Now I know I was underresponding to patterns that didn't serve me. The last message I ever got from Natalie came months later. A simple one. "I saw you with someone, you looked happy, I'm glad." I didn't reply. Didn't need to. Some silences speak for themselves. Erin and I aren't married or anything, we're just good. Which, after everything, feels like a kind of miracle. She knows the worst thing someone ever made me feel. And still sees the best parts of me. Not because I proved I was lovable, but because I stopped asking people to earn what they already deserved. I tell this story not because it ends in revenge or fireworks or some karmic gotcha. But because maybe someone else is sitting in a parked car, staring at texts they didn't want to read, asking if they're overreacting. If that's you, here's your answer. You're not. You're just waking up. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.